Revenge films.
I had a girlfriend when I was in high school. We had a lot of fun back then, and she always hung out at my home. My brother was home one day when she came, so I introduced her to my brother. One day my girlfriend suddenly told me,
I think I like your brother more, so I'm breaking up with you.
I was shocked at what she said. So I asked her, "What do you like about my brother?" She said,
I like his aggressive attitude and the fact that he's working.
I was a poor student at the time and couldn't really afford the expenses of having a girlfriend, so after we broke up as she wished, I actually had a sense of relief. Take care of her. I sent my brother a message after the breakup. He replied, "I'm sorry, she was hard to resist." According to my ex-girlfriend, my brother was hitting on her aggressively, but at the same time, my brother claimed that my ex-girlfriend seduced him. I had no idea who was telling the truth. Maybe my ex-girlfriend had already been flirting with my brother for a while before we broke up. She probably already made the decision the first time they met. Since then, I barely talked to my brother and stopped contacting my ex-girlfriend. Soon after, I graduated high school. I went to college, graduated, and found a job. By the time I started working, I already forgot about what had happened in the past. But one day, my mom told me that my brother and ex-girlfriend were going to get married. Because we're family, I didn't find it strange that I heard it from my parents instead of my brother. Before my ex-girlfriend came to my parents' home for the first time with my brother, she called me and reminded me.
Remember not to mention to your parents that we used to date.
Back in high school, my parents were never there when I brought my ex-girlfriend home. Both of them had work and rarely came home before 7, so they'd never met her. That's why my parents had no idea that my brother's future wife used to be my girlfriend in high school. I decided to congratulate my brother and ex-girlfriend like nothing had happened, so I said, "Don't worry, I won't say anything to my parents."
Yeah, I trust you won't ruin the atmosphere. You were such a virgin and didn't even sleep with me when we were dating. But if you want, I don't mind sleeping with you now.
My ex-girlfriend replied. She obviously was trying to seduce me, but I was not interested at all. So I replied like an emotionless robot, "No thank you."
Did you get excited? I wonder why you never tried anything back then.
She kept on talking, so I got annoyed and said, "Is that all? I have to go now. See you tomorrow." And I hung up. I was already certain that my ex-girlfriend was a slut when she broke up with me and started dating my brother. After the phone call, I confirmed she was also an idiot to think it was a good idea to seduce me the day before meeting my family. The next day, I didn't mention anything about our past when the two families met. Everything went smoothly. However, my ex-girlfriend started to message me and ask me out. I didn't reply, so she called me instead.
Aren't you lonely and bored? Let's have some fun. I'll be your sister-in-law soon. Just do as I say.
She kept on contacting me. Maybe she was hitting on me because she started to regret breaking up with me. I've always been good at studying. I'm working now at one of the biggest companies in the world after graduating from a top college. But my brother just got demoted at work after making a scene fighting with his colleague. So his salary became less than half of mine. My ex-girlfriend must have heard it from my parents. I didn't want to stir things up before the wedding, so I blocked her number. My brother came to ask me one day, "Is it true that you're hitting on my girlfriend?" So I showed him the chat history between my ex-girlfriend and me. I also told him I had blocked her. And I tried to convince my brother that I had absolutely no interest in her. Then my brother started to laugh triumphantly at me. No wonder she chose me over you. You don't even have the guts to try anything. That's why she's marrying me instead of you. You know what? I'll let you have some fun with her if you're bold enough, loser. I tried to stay calm before their wedding, but my brother wouldn't stop making fun of me. I was irritated and furious. My brother had always been unhappy that I worked at a bigger company and got a bigger salary. You got hired by pure luck, but you won't always be so lucky. Soon enough, they'll see how incompetent and useless you are and fire you right away. Seems like he was attacking me to make him feel better about himself and compensate for his incompetence at work. Then my ex-girlfriend invited me again.
Your brother said it's okay. What is there to think about?
My brother said, "I know you won't do anything." And he kept mocking me for being a coward. I lost my feelings for my ex-girlfriend a long time ago, but for some reason, she still thought I was interested in her. But from my brother's point of view, he thought it was because I was too gutless to make a move. "You're a good brother. I decided to let you be my best man and give a speech at my wedding." He even asked me to give a wedding speech at the reception. I gladly accepted the offer. When their wedding started, my brother and my ex-girlfriend were at their peak of excitement. My ex-girlfriend sent me a message before the wedding and said,
I used to wish I could wear a wedding dress like this at our wedding.
But I ignored her. When it was time to give my speech, I went up there and started speaking. I talked about how they met each other because of me, and I talked about how my brother stole my ex-girlfriend from me. Then I explained the reason she broke up with me was that my brother had more money than I did at the time. But then she told me not to tell both families that we used to date. She tried to seduce me many times after they decided to get married, and told me I could do whatever I wanted with her as long as I kept my mouth shut. And then I told everyone that my brother knew about it and allowed it all along. My brother and ex-girlfriend went crazy and tried to stop me halfway through my speech. So I put our chat history on the big screen for everyone to see. Then I played the recordings of my brother laughing at me for being a coward. The reception turned into total chaos after my speech. My ex-girlfriend lowered her head and covered her ears. My brother stood up and tried to get me to stop talking, but I continued to finish my speech. I'm relieved to finally tell the thing I wanted to tell. Wishing you a long and happy marriage. I left the wedding and went home after. Of course, my parents were angry at me for ruining my brother's wedding, but what my brother and ex-girlfriend did infuriated them more. My parents made my brother cancel their marriage after learning about the truth. My ex-girlfriend's parents, who were also at the wedding, were so embarrassed when they heard their daughter try to seduce the groom's brother. Of course, my brother and ex-girlfriend also invited people from their workplaces. After I exposed their secrets in front of them, my brother and ex-girlfriend could no longer face their colleagues at work. Soon enough, other local companies also heard stories about my brother. I can only imagine how hard it was for him to find a new job. He ended up working part-time and living paycheck to paycheck. My parents didn't want to see him anymore, so he rented a tiny studio to live by himself. As for my ex-girlfriend, she also moved out of her parents' home after they cut ties with her. All the guests at the reception would have already figured she was a slut. Now everyone knows she's the kind of woman who hits on anything that moves. I couldn't stay in my hometown anymore, so I asked my company to transfer me to another location. Luckily, there happened to be an opening in another city, so I quickly packed my things and moved there. I met a woman in the new city and started going out with her. 3 years later, we decided to get married and had a small wedding at the city hall. My wife is not from a wealthy family. Her mother was so happy, she cried tears of joy seeing her daughter in a wedding dress. I haven't been back to my hometown since my brother's wedding. Instead, I live happily with my wife, daughter, and in-laws in our new home. I couldn't be more content with my life now.
How was today's video? If you enjoyed it, please subscribe, like, and leave a comment. Stay tuned for more.